Most people pick watermelons by luck, and they keep paying for it every single summer. If you have ever paid good money for a watermelon, brought it home, cut it open, and found pale, dry, tasteless flesh inside, that is not bad luck. That is what happens when nobody ever tells you what to actually look for. There are 6 things you can check on the outside of any watermelon before you buy it, and every single one of them is visible to the naked eye. Work through all 6, and you will stop bringing home bad ones. The first sign is one most people walk right past, and it has been sitting on the rind right there the whole time. A ripe watermelon, one that actually finished maturing on the vine, has a deep green skin that looks dull and matte, not shiny. That flat finish is what happens when a melon has had enough time under the sun to fully develop its sugars from the inside out. Shiny skin, that bright, polished look that makes a melon seem so fresh and appealing in the pile. That is actually a warning, not a quality signal. A glossy rind almost always means the watermelon was harvested before it was ready. The flesh underneath is going to be pale, dry, and completely flat in flavour, like biting into something that is mostly water with no sweetness behind it at all. Beyond the shine, you also want the colour to be uniform all the way around. No pale patches, no uneven fading, just consistent deep green across the whole surface. A lot of people reach for the shiniest melon because it looks the freshest. But with watermelons, shine means the sugars never made it where they needed to go. Deep, matte, and even. That one detail alone puts you ahead of most people standing in that same aisle. Flip the melon over before you commit to anything, because the underside tells a completely different story, and almost nobody thinks to check it. On the bottom of every watermelon, the side that rested on the ground while the fruit was growing, there is a patch of colour called the field spot. Deep golden yellow, or even slightly orange, is what you want to see. That colour builds up slowly as the watermelon sits in the field, soaking up sunlight and pulling nutrients from the soil. The longer it sat there, the deeper that colour gets. And the deeper the colour, the more time the sugars inside had to fully develop. White or pale yellow means the melon was pulled from the vine before it was ready. And there is nothing that can change that after harvest. The moment a watermelon is separated from the plant, sugar development stops. Whatever was there at picking, that is all you are getting. A pale field spot locks in a mediocre melon, and no amount of shelf time afterward is going to fix it. Before you decide on any watermelon, flip it over first. Now here is something most people have never heard of, and it has been sitting right on the surface of every watermelon they have ever walked past. Look closely at the rind. Really look like you are actually inspecting the thing. You will see faint lines running across the surface, almost like tiny cracks, or the way water ripples when something drops into a still pool. These are sometimes called sugar veins or webbing, and they form from bee contact during pollination. The more of this webbing the watermelon has, the more times bees visited the flower during its growth, and that correlates directly with how sweet the fruit ends up being. When those lines are dark, clearly defined, and spread uniformly across the whole rind, you know the melon developed well and built up strong moisture content from the inside out. If the surface is completely smooth, or the lines are patchy and scattered, the development was likely interrupted somewhere along the way. What you want is a consistent, clearly visible web pattern covering as much of the surface as possible. Most people browsing in a supermarket have never once noticed it is even there. Now you will. This next one is something almost everyone does at the market, and almost everyone does completely wrong. Tapping a watermelon is probably the most well-known move in the whole process. But most people tap it, hear some kind of sound, and either put it in the cart or put it back without actually knowing what any of that meant. So here is exactly what to listen for. Hold one side of the melon flat against your palm, then tap the opposite side with the fingers of your other hand. What you are feeling for is a vibration that travels clearly from one side of the fruit to the other. If that resonance moves through, the melon is ripe. If it feels deadened and flat, like tapping a solid wall, it is likely still underripe. For the sound, a deep, hollow resonance, something like a low drum, means you have a ripe, sweet melon. A flat, dense thud means it is overripe. A sharp, high-pitched knock means it is still green inside. The rule is simple. The deeper and more hollow the sound, the better the melon. Next time you tap one at the market, do it with a purpose and actually listen to what comes back. This one comes straight from people who grow watermelons for a living, and it takes about 3 seconds with no equipment at all. Just pick it up. Literally lift the melon and feel it. If you are standing in front of 2 watermelons that look roughly the same size, and you are not sure which one to take, the heavier one almost always wins. Weight in a watermelon means density, and density means moisture, and moisture is what drives all the juice and all the sweetness. A melon that feels lighter than its size suggests is often dry or spongy inside, the water content never fully developed, or it has already started to break down. When the melons are not too large, hold one in each hand at the same time and compare them directly. The one that feels more solid, that pulls harder against your hand, that is the one. A smaller watermelon that feels noticeably heavy will beat a larger but hollow feeling one every single time. Size is not sweetness, weight is. That is exactly how experienced growers identify the best fruit without cutting anything open. The last sign is the one almost nobody ever mentions, and once you know what it means, you will check it on every single melon from now on. At the base of every watermelon, the end opposite the stem, there is a small circular mark known as the blossom end or belly button. If it is small and tightly closed, that is exactly what you want. A small closed belly button means the watermelon ripened naturally. The flesh expanded evenly as it grew, and the result is usually a thinner rind and a sweeter, more consistent interior all the way through. If the belly button is large, open, slightly raised, or has a visible gap at the centre, pay attention. That can be a sign the melon was treated to speed up ripening artificially before it had time to develop on its own. Those melons, they often come out dry, grainy or mealy inside. The flavour just does not land the way it should. They can look completely fine from the outside, but the moment you take a bite, you know. Small and tightly closed. Check that before anything else goes in the cart. So there are your 6 signs to check before any watermelon goes in your cart. Deep, matte green skin, a golden, yellow or orange field spot on the bottom, defined sugar veins across the rind, a deep hollow sound when you knock, heavy for its size, and a small, tightly closed belly button at the base. None of this takes specialised knowledge or any tools. You can run through all 6 in under a minute, standing in any market or supermarket aisle. It just comes down to knowing what to actually look for, and now you do. Tell me where you are from and where you usually pick up your watermelons. A local market, a supermarket, a roadside stand, and which of these 6 signs you are going to try first. And if you test this on your next shopping run, come back and let me know which one made the biggest difference.